Rookie minicamp getting going for the San Francisco 49ers post-2024 NFL draft. And you know what? Let's jump into the argument where Brock Purdy ranks among NFL quarterbacks, because some serious disrespect right now out there for 49ers fans about where Brock is, according to some folks. We'll set you straight right here on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers, and we love it when you subscribe. Please smash that subscribe button on YouTube or everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, Croc. Rookie minicamp. I'm going to get your insights, what it's like to go through rookie minicamp. I don't know how many reports or what exact information we're going to get about what the 49ers did actually at rookie minicamp, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to start with Brock Purdy. And we were asked the question earlier this week, and there's been a lot of fighting with Packers fans and 49ers fans about Jordan Love versus Brock Purdy. And then The Athletic went out and did this quarterback draft, and there was, three GMs, basically three hosts, or three, whatever it was. I don't know if it was a podcast or just a written article, because I didn't see it. It was relayed to us, and we were asked about it. And 49ers fans appalled Croc that among the 15 quarterbacks taken between three people, five each, Brock Purdy was not among them. So that means not in the top half of the NFL starting quarterbacks. So interesting there. Maybe we can even go through the list. And we did this last year, Croc. And our own fan base, 49ers fans, were a little bit upset about where we had Brock Purdy ranked. And I think he came in 12th or something like that for us, right? Some point during the season. As far as the Jordan Love fighting with Packers fans from 49ers fans, I would say, guys, graciously bow out of the fight. It's I know where you're at. There's no games to be played. Scoreboard. Just take a screenshot of the scoreboard. Packers 49ers playoffs, respond with that. Because you're not going to talk anybody into liking your guy more than their own guy. They're not going to talk any 49ers fans into liking their guy more than your guy. So really, it's one of those arguments that I don't engage in. I know what I see on the football field. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Different quarterbacks might be better in different schemes with different talent around them. A lot of factors play into what a quarterback plays like any given year. And even those exact quarterbacks have ups and downs in their careers. Josh Allen has a terrible year and then a great year and then a little bit worse year and then a good year again. Patrick Mahomes had a little bit of a down year last year, and nobody would take any other quarterback in the league probably over Patrick Mahomes, even though somebody else might have had better statistics than Patrick Mahomes, right? So We're not going to throw out statistics about it. You watch ball. If you're a ball knower, you know what good quarterback play is. And Brock Purdy has provided very good quarterback play his entire career since jumping on the field for the 49ers. That's why we said, take Brock Purdy over Jordan Love. I'll take Brock Purdy's 1.5 seasons over Jordan Love's half a season is really the way it goes. And if you want efficiency, nobody's more efficient in the league last year than Brock Purdy.
Right. And, I think they're a big part of the argument that I hear, or I think that's really kind of tainting what Brock Purdy's doing, because what Brock Purdy has done so far, very, very good. Top of the league, good type stuff. It's the ghost of Jimmy Garoppolo. And I don't know how he shakes that. I think the only way he really shakes that is by actually winning a Super Bowl. And even then, I don't know how much credit they're going to give Brock Purdy. And when I say they're, just the naysayers, the people out there that aren't quite believers. If you're a 49er fan, which I'm assuming a lot of you out there right now listening are, I say just ignore it. And we'll go over the rankings and whatnot, but appreciate Brock Purdy for what he's done. Be excited about, where he's headed. He had a tremendous season coming off of an injury that was really bad to his elbow. And he knocked off a lot of the quarterbacks that people are going to talk about, right? Or his team did. So I would lean more in that direction, but it's the ghost of Jimmy Garoppolo in the outsiders' minds. And the reason why is because, and I don't know how many of y'all remember these conversations, there were people trying to make the argument to how good Jimmy Garoppolo was. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Is he a top 8 quarterback? Well, his statistics said he was a top 5 quarterback statistically in a lot of categories in the years that obviously he went to the Super Bowl or conference championship game. And the people that were watching the game are like, Jimmy's not that good. Like, I don't care what his numbers are. 49er fans, myself included, like, hey, whatever you're saying, all I do is seeing 49ers won a ton of games with him at quarterback. And I think because of that whole argument, and for the people that maybe don't watch 49er games, in its entirety, don't watch every snap that Brock Purdy takes, they're going to continue to lump what Jimmy did and how efficient Jimmy was in the offense with the wins that Jimmy had, with the same supporting cast for the most part. They're going to lump that in with what Brock Purdy has done, and it's going to skew the argument every time.
Jimmy Garoppolo does hurt Brock Purdy's case. And it's easy to make the case that, Brock Purdy has all the weapons. He's got Kyle Shanahan. One of the things that I don't get, Croc, in the national discourse about who's important on the 49ers is generally everybody says, in fact, I think, what's crazy, Croc, is I think fans and analysts outside the 49ers fan base give Kyle more credit than 49ers fans do, but then discredit the quarterback more than 49ers fans do. Because we get a lot of weird feedback about Kyle Shanahan, right, Croc? He'll never win one because of whatever. And the national media loves Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's a cheat code, all this and that. But the one thing that I don't understand about all of it is, okay, Brock Purdy's got too much talent around him. He's got Kyle Shanahan, so it can't all be him. He can't be a great quarterback. But nobody ever says anything about Christian McCaffrey being helped out by Kyle Shanahan. Don't you think that's weird?
Well, he was a thousand guy with Carolina Panthers. With whoever.
Yeah, but they talk about the offense like it was terrible and they couldn't run the football before Christian McCaffrey showed up, and that he's the straw that stirs the drink. The offense is unwatched. Like they went to a Super Bowl and lost it. They went to an NFC Championship game and lost it with Christian McCaffrey, just like they did without Christian McCaffrey.
We saw Ray Mostert run for 1,000 yards in a playoff game. Like,
and look, this isn't me saying anything about Christian McCaffrey not being great. It's just that the discourse about it. It's that nobody ever, because the 49ers were great at running the football before Christian McCaffrey. They'll be great running the football after Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey brings a lot to the table. Number one thing he's been able to do is be healthy, which Raheem Mostert couldn't do, which Elijah Mitchell couldn't do, which every other Shanahan back couldn't do. But the 49ers played Christian McCaffrey and the Panthers 2 weeks before they traded for him. And it wasn't like the Panthers rolled in town. It was like, we can't beat the Panthers. They got Christian McCaffrey. It was over, right?
He was good in the game.
He's good. But it was like, so who cares, right? And then he goes to the 49ers like, oh my God, if it wasn't for Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers offense would not be the same. He's the straw that stirs the drink. And my question to everybody would be like, well, which is it? What is important? Is it Kyle Shanahan? Is Christian McCaffrey really the reason the 49ers offense took a step up? Is Brock Purdy not the best quarterback we've seen in the Kyle Shanahan era? And the answer is it's all of them together is what makes the offense what it was last year. So you can't really separate them all. But I just think it's weird that people want to discredit Brock Purdy, but nobody ever discredits Christian McCaffrey and saying that it's nice for Christian McCaffrey that he gets to play in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
I'm telling you, the biggest is Jimmy Garoppolo. That is the reason. And it's going to be something that's really difficult because we saw a guy went to multiple conference championship games, went to a Super Bowl, was super efficient, completing dang near 70% of his passes, whatever it was, he was super efficient. Number one in a lot of different categories. And went to the Raiders and got benched. And there were people arguing against him prior to him leaving, like saying, well, I know 49ers, it's the team. The team is so good. The team is so good. The defense, the Debo Samuel, all these guys, the Yak Bros. And I remember the conversations and the arguments. And it just did not help that Jimmy went somewhere else, and it did not go good at all. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that Brock Purdy, in the sense of how he's viewed, will have to continue to jump. Like, he's going to have to continue to jump that hurdle until it might be years from now, until he makes it like undeniable that, hey, I'm not only better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but like year in and year out, you can count on me being on the field. Like, I'm healthy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're winning Super Bowls. And that's ultimately what it's going to take. And this is a lot of the conversation that was surrounded Tom Brady, early in his career. Then it just got to the point where it was undeniable. But do you think the Patriots care what people said on the outside? Hey, we're hoisting Lombardis. If you don't feel like he's better than Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, who cares?
Brock Purdy, the start to Brock Purdy's career is better than Tom Brady's. It's better than Peyton Manning's. It's better than Joe Montana's start to his career. What Brock Purdy's doing right now is special. It's pretty crazy what he's doing to start his career. He's in the NFL season. He's playing some of the best quarterback in the NFL. How good is he? Let's rank him out, Croc. Where does Brock Purdy stand now? Because we haven't done this in a long time. Going into the 2024 season, then we'll talk rookie minicamp. And Kyle Shanahan's old buddy, Chris Sims, had something interesting to say about the 49ers hierarchy as well next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. When it comes to your financial future, you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses. That is Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for a little extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need all in one place. They are the number one finance destination, producing holistic looks at financial news cycles, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, and analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more at Yahoo Finance. So with a community over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. This episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. It's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. I just got some new wiper blades for my vehicle. I got a bumper for my vehicle, right? And it was pretty easy to slur a fender flare, to be exact. Pretty easy to find. Big green check, guaranteed fit. I knew it was the right part for my car, got it in, slapped it on there, and saved a whole bunch of cash. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Where does Brock Purdy rank? I actually like this comment from Paney64. Says, who cares where Brock Purdy ranks? But he ranks top 10. He goes, Paney cares too. Paney cares. Don't try to act like you don't care, because you do care.
We see how many people, they try to act like they don't care. And the reason why we're talking about it right now is because we've noticed that plenty of 49er fans care where you have them.
As Dr. Steve Brule says, don't forget that like button. Make sure you subscribe up as well. Appreciate y'all jumping into the live chat here as we finish up the week. We're going to talk rookie minicamp in a second, but just off the top of your head, we don't have to go too deep into every. Croc, I trust you. You are a ball knower. How many quarterbacks clearly, like, even if you're a delusional 49er fan, you'd be like, okay, I would definitely take this quarterback over Brock Purdy if I'm trying to win a championship?
So if I'm a delusional 49er fan, I think they go Patrick Mahomes, and it might stop there.
Okay, maybe if you're not completely delusional, you're just a big fan and you love Brock Purdy, but you're realistic, then how many quarterbacks?
The tough thing is, how many quarterbacks do I feel like I can put in the 49ers situation, and how well would they do with that?
That's a good point, Croc. I want to stop there, because there might be a quarterback who's really good in another offense that might not be as good for Kyle Shanahan. Like one of the angry Packers fans that I saw on Twitter was like, oh, bigger arm, taller, threw all this stuff out there. And it was like, dude, we just saw a quarterback with the bigger arm, who was taller, who was drafted earlier, who was faster in Trey Lance, he got bounced in 5 seconds for Brock Purdy, right? So being taller and faster and being able to throw the ball farther does not an NFL quarterback make. And so we can throw that out immediately. And Kyle Shanahan wants certain things. So some of the names that showed up in that athletic draft that a lot of people got up in arms about, there was, Drake May was in there and Anthony Richardson. And there was a lot of, they're drafting for the future. Like,
do you want to put that up? I thought that was kind of disrespectful. And I'm not this like, oh, you got to have Purdy super high on every list. But to see the way they did it, I like the way they did it. It was kind of like this snake draft or whatever. And each guy, so it's like you pick a quarterback, you pick a quarterback, you pick a quarterback. And then do that again for 5 rounds pretty much. So 15 quarterbacks are taken. And you mean to tell me that within those 15, now, you wouldn't take Purdy over at one of them? And the fact that with all that Purdy has accomplished throughout his first year and a half of playing football, he's accomplished a lot. And not just on winning games. Like, it's not Rex Grossman, right? And to leave him just completely off of that list, I thought was borderline irresponsible of the Athletic.
It depends on the question that you're asking, because if you're trying to win a football game tomorrow, there's zero chance I'm taking Anthony Richardson or Drake May or even Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix or any of these young quarterbacks that haven't shown that they've figured out the NFL game yet or played in a Kyle Shanahan offense.
Okay, so what was the question?
Any of them in front of Brock Purdy tomorrow if I'm trying to win a football game.
What was the question?
The question is, who's the best quarterback in 2024? I don't know if that was the Athletics question. It probably was not, based on the names I saw on that list. They were probably just drafting for, if you were just drafting for your franchise trying to develop a quarterback long term, who would you pick? That's my guess. That's was that they're answering, which is a different question. I'm trying to rank the quarterbacks for 2024, but there's no guarantee that Drake May, just because he's more athletic when drafted higher. Again, we've already seen this. There's no guarantee he's going to get anywhere close to the level that Brock Purdy has already played at in the NFL, and it's very likely he doesn't get there. In fact.
The question of if you have a blank canvas and you can start your team with any quarterback in the league, I could see how Purdy would slide a little bit with them phrasing it that way.
Right.
But if you're just saying we got to rank these quarterbacks, how they've played, it would be extremely difficult to put 8 quarterbacks over Purdy. Right. Now, that's me without me saying, and we'll rattle off names, but just off the top of my head, it's like, because I don't know what more Purdy can do to get in the good graces of the masses.
Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow.
All right, let me go. I bookmarked one list. All right, so here's a list. This is from CBS Sports. This is their power ranking of quarterbacks.
Okay, so that's today. That's winning a football game today.
Yeah. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Brock Purdy. Number 3, Josh Allen. 4, Joe Burrow. 5, CJ Stroud. 6, Lamar. You got Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and then Jordan Love. Now, again, if you were to phrase the question of I have to start my franchise from scratch, I don't know who my weapons are with any of these quarterbacks, I still would have him in the top 10 of this list for sure. But there's other quarterbacks that starting a franchise, I would take over him. And then you start to throw in, would I take Caleb Williams? If I had to start right now, there's some things about Caleb Williams, and I hear a lot of great things about him off the field. But when I listen to him answer questions, there's kind of this smug thing going on, and I don't necessarily care for it. So I might keep Brock Purdy over him. And I think he's a tremendous talent. But starting a franchise right now, and that might be crazy.
CBS had him number 2. Huh?
CBS had Brock Purdy
CBS had him number 2. All right. There you go. That's one of those 49ers fans we were talking about. I have him listed by NFL passer rating last year, and we know that Brock Purdy put up some crazy efficiency stats. His quarterback rating was 113 last year, 7 points higher than the next closest guy. It was Dak Prescott. And by the way, I'm taking Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott, no matter what no matter how the question is phrased. Dak Prescott's not going ahead of Brock Purdy. And I think when we did this list last year, Dak Prescott was ahead of Brock Purdy on our list. I wouldn't put Kirk Cousins ahead of him. Lamar, yes. Tua, no. CJ Stroud, I would take CJ Stroud over Brock Purdy. I would not take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy. I would not take Jordan Love over Brock Purdy. I wouldn't take Baker Mayfield. I would take Justin Herbert. I would take Patrick Mahomes. Matthew Stafford, that's tough because I think he's very near the end, and his arm, as much as the arm was a big issue for Brock Purdy in one game and in the offseason last year, it wasn't an issue when he played last year. I'll take the youth of Brock Purdy where his career is ascending over Matthew Stafford. Josh Allen, I would take over Brock Purdy. Burrow, gosh, I don't like his injury history the way it's going, but Burrow's kind of plays the game a lot like Brock Purdy.
We watched him against the 49ers. That was surgical. That was like Peyton Manning-esque. Mm-hmm. I mean, at one point he completed 20 straight passes. I mean, I was like, golly.
Right. I'm not taking Kyler Murray over Purdy. Trevor Lawrence, that's a really tough one because you're still projecting more with Trevor Lawrence because he hasn't shown it yet, even though he's, talented. But again, he's not there yet. And it's a great example for all these young quarterbacks that you're ready to crown before they've played yet, man. Even when they hit, they could still kind of just not be what you hope they are, like Trevor Lawrence. And then obviously there's a 50% chance that they're not anything, and even a starting caliber quarterback ever in the NFL. So I don't even know what that number was again. Let me count it up one more time. So for sure, I would take over Purdy. 1, 2.
And while you're counting that, I see in the chat someone referenced Stroud.
Yeah, so 7. So Brock.
So you have him 8th.
At 8 right now. Yeah,
and that's why I said, like.
And then there's some good arguments because then there's like Trevor Lawrence, and there's some other quarterbacks that I would buy the argument, and then they would be like, okay, I see where you're going with this, but it's hard to put Brock Purdy too far outside of the top 10 right now.
Strawberry Reacts in the chat says, I need to see another year from CJ. I will say this about what I saw from CJ. Nico Collins became like this all-pro receiver with him. And there is something people talk about elevating the talent around you. CJ Stroud had Noah Brown and Nico Collins looking like, wow, it's the best tandem in the NFL. Like he made them look like legit. These are long-term like guys. Like right now, I think they're like, oh, let's build around Nico Collins. And nobody was saying that. So that's where I give him a lot of credit, being in this situation where I don't have a running back I can count on at all. They essentially kind of started benching Pierce, and they're trying to give Singletary carries. And Singletary is a guy who Buffalo Bills didn't even really want. And then you had Dalton Schultz, who I like him at tight end. Do I love him? And then Nico Collins, and I'm thinking, oh, they got all these throwaway receivers. And next thing you know, he's having a historically great rookie year and leading his team to the playoffs.
And making his receivers into stars that we thought was a group of no-name guys. And they had a bunch of injuries last season too. So what he did was pretty unbelievable.
It was pretty unbelievable. I would have to say, I mean, it's just impressive. Now, it's not Brock's fault that he's not in that situation to lead a team, but I think, just knowing what the 49ers were before Brock and during Brock, and how obviously, statistically, it's not there's not like this huge jump. Obviously, you can point out a number here and there that may be more efficient, but I don't think it's one of those where, Jimmy Garoppolo 2019, what the team averaged 29 points a game. You know what I'm saying? So like they've been really good with this core group, and then you throw in CMC, and it's just like, man, that's an ideal situation. Not his fault, but it is ideal in comparison to seeing the guy rookie year coming to the NFL. You're thinking they may win 3 games, rookie head coach, and it's like, no, like I'm gonna lead us to the playoffs. That was a different level of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I want to talk rookie minicamp, Croc. So let's get to that next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. And certain things can really start to get to you. So it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. And it is so, so important. And I can't stress it enough, not to let the small thing become a big thing. Do not let it linger, as the Cranberries used to say. No, they said, do you have to let it linger? There's different wording, but you get the idea, right? Do not let that linger. Therapy can be different for everyone. And however you need therapy, that's how BetterHelp can provide it, because it's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Something we already knew, Croc, but the way Chris Sims told Ahmed Fareed on NBC Sports, I don't know what name of the show that they were on that this came from, but he said that Kyle Shanahan was the GM of the 49ers. And we've always talked about that. And we know that Kyle Shanahan contractually has control of the roster, right? And there's been obvious times when John Lynch is going out to procure the talent that Kyle Shanahan wants, even if it's a bad idea, trade up situation for certain players, right? And it's happened multiple times. But the way that Chris Sims put it, it was almost borderline disrespectful to John Lynch and the power that he has in the organization. He put it as strongly as I've heard it put. And Chris Sims would know better than I what the exact structure is of those human beings in the 49ers front office. He said, Kyle Shanahan is the GM of the 49ers. He said, you think John Lynch made the call on drafting Ricky Pearsall at 31 when nobody in the bleeping world thought he was worthy of that pick? And basically he said, it's Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's in charge. He's the GM. Then it's John Lynch. And then after that, it was Adam Peters. Everyone giving Adam Peters way too much credit for what he did with the San Francisco 49ers. And he went on. And basically he put it as strong as I've heard it put. Did you hear the comments? What did you think about what Chris Sims said about Kyle Shanahan being the GM of the Niners?
I definitely heard it. And I do think it aligns with what you and I have been saying is this is Kyle's team.
It's Kyle's show.
And I think that here's the thing. When you talk about the dynamic between Kyle and John, I think they work as an amazing group, team together, those two guys. And hey, Kyle says, I like these type of guys. Go get me those guys. I think John Lynch does everything in his power to get the guys for his coach that his coach feels is going to work for his team. And, some situations aren't like that. Balky picked the players, and, some of the coaches that Balky has been under, you have to just handle the players that he gives you. And I like the way that the 49ers do it. I don't know if that's anything like, oh my goodness, like, out of nowhere, this is the most, wow, we never knew anything like this. I think it aligns with how we felt all along, which is Kyle runs this thing and John works as his partner in crime and does what is needed to do.
I don't know how involved Kyle is in the entire process to be the GM. So I think that's kind of not giving the 49ers entire scouting staff and John Lynch himself enough credit. The way I picture it is, parents and child are at the grocery store, and mom's like picking out healthy stuff, and she's, whoever's going to be making dinner, dad's going to pull out a steak. He's like, I'm going to make steak, and we're going to have this dinner on Tuesday. We're going to have this. And the kid's like, I need a juice box. And he grabs a juice box and throws it in. But the kid's in charge, and if he wants a juice box, he gets a juice box. That's how I picture Kyle Shanahan being with the whole draft situation. He says, Ricky Pearsall's my favorite guy. Take him. And then John Lynch says, all right, but we're going corner in round 2 because we need a stinking cornerback. Okay. And Kyle's like, cool, I'm good with that. It's not like Kyle Shanahan's like, I'm taking Renardo Green in round 2. I don't think that's the way it's going. I just don't think that's quite it. But Kyle Shanahan gets what he wants for sure.
Right. Correct. And I think that's how it should be, especially when it comes to the offensive pieces, which John Lynch said in a press conference in front of everyone, when it comes to picking his quarterback and the guys that I defer to him. If this is the guy that you want, great. Now, like any team, I think they do a good job of understanding their situation. You're starting off a team. Kyle has this great idea to get Kirk Cousins. Let's build up this defense first because we feel like defense wins championships, which I don't think so anymore. I think you need offense to win the championship. But hey, defense wins championship. Let's build the thing up. It was a historically bad defense 49ers had in 2016. Let's go there. We'll worry about offense later. And they went with that plan. And I think they continued to bounce ideas off of each other. See what do you like? What do you think about this? And cool, you got your guy. All right, now between the scouting department and everyone else, we're going to kind of build this roster. Kyle, you go ahead, chill, and we'll let you know if there's something you don't like, or if there's a guy that you feel like, hey, he's a must-have. But when Kyle even said about, hey, we're going to draft a running back 3rd round, then we're going to turn around and draft another one 6th round, and the 6th round is going to be better than 3rd round, that let me know that I feel like that's the freedom that the rest of the staff, the running back coaches pounding on the table for these certain guys. So I do think it's more of a collaborative effort than Sims made it out to be, but we do know who the top play caller is in the situation, the top dog, and it's Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, and if he wants something, he gets it. And I get the feeling that was Ricky Pearsall. He wasn't willing to wait for Ricky Pearsall to be there in the 2nd round, right? Potentially for them, and he very likely would not have been. The way I think, and I don't know this for a fact, this is hearing how other Kyle Shanahan teams pre-49ers worked, and just knowing how front offices and stuff work in the NFL, depending on who's in charge, if it's a coaching staff that's the main, like the coach hires the GM or the GM hires the coach situations, because you talk about the Balky thing where it's like Balky shops for the groceries, period, and the coach cooks the dinner, right? But for the 49ers, this is the way I'm pretty sure it goes. The scouting staff does their work, and it starts right now, like all summer long. Like Kyle Shanahan's not watching college players in the summertime. You know what I mean? He's waiting for the draft process to start. So what happens is, the way I think it goes, don't know for sure, the scouting staff collects everybody, and they have their list of players that they think are the best ones that they want the coaching staff to then look at. So Kyle looks at players, the position coaches of those players that the scouting staff and the front office has picked out as the priority players. The coaches then go through those players. So it's already been filtered once before it gets to the coaches. And then the coaches pick out their favorites. And Kyle Shanahan, I think, really trusts his coaches. So it weighs a lot when the coaches like a player from their position group. So I think the coaching staff all the way down, not just Kyle Shanahan, have a really huge say in it. But I don't think the coaching staff is just going all rogue and finding some guy from, East Arkansas State and being like, oh, I found this guy out of nowhere that the coaching staff didn't even tell me about, and I found him and I like him a lot. We're going to draft him. I don't think that's the way things are going in the 49ers. But the coaching staff, what they say really does have a big impact, I think, on who gets selected for the 49ers beyond Kyle Shanahan even. I
saw a comment here, and it was from Dumpster Fire Dan. Here it goes. It said, nope, Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. Scouts in the organization wanted Trey Lance. And he says he talked to people close to the organization. I'm here to tell you that's not how it went. And my guy, we can talk about it now because it's all out in the open. But Greg Pinelli was, who he's been on the show, friend of the show, friend of mine, buddy of mine. He's a big quarterback trainer, and he was there putting on a pro day for a Kentucky quarterback, and kind of started talking to Scarangarillo, and Scarangarillo just started spilling the tea. And he says, hey, Kyle wanted him. I didn't want him. Felt like it was too much to work with. That was Kyle's guy. Kyle got his guy. I ended up leaving. That's me kind of summarizing it. But essentially, Kyle Shanahan was all in on getting him. And Scarangarillo was like, no, I wouldn't go that route. So there's more to it in the sense of just that conversation. But that's the nuts and bolts to it right there, straight from Greg. And Greg called me right after the conversation. Croc, you gotta listen to this. I just talked to Scarangarillo, and he's telling me everything.
Marvin Berry, listen to this, right? Dude, and there's zero chance Kyle Shanahan. We know Kyle Shanahan too well, and the power he has. No chance you were going to force a quarterback on Kyle Shanahan with the number 3 pick after the move they pulled off to go get a quarterback. No way. Like, was there a collective effort? I'm sure there was, but no chance he was getting pushed into that deal to take a quarterback he didn't want. Right. That was not happening.
And sometimes with these things, man, it depends on the organization. I was with the New York Jets. I remember the day before the draft, or it might have been the day of the draft. I'm sitting in the meeting room with Antonio Cromartie. We're talking about it, going over stuff. Maybe we were maybe two of the first people in the meeting room. Rex Ryan walks into the meeting room. He looks at me, he looks at Cromartie, and he's like, "Hey, man, who do you guys think they're going to take tonight?" And in my head, I'm thinking, aren't you supposed to be picking players? But that's not how John Idzik is doing. John Idzik picked me. John Idzik signed me. That wasn't I remember when I was in there working out, Rex Ryan said, "Hey, what's the story behind this kid?" Like a lot of these a lot of these organizations, the GM, they get the groceries, and then it's on the coaching staff to cook it up. So there are different ways that this works out. But that particular situation, and maybe this is because he's a defensive head coach, but I don't think he knew that going into that day, they're going to take D. Milliner and they're going to take Sheldon Richardson with their first 2 picks, and then second round they're going to get Geno Smith.
All right, I know we teased the rookie minicamp stuff, but we can save it and tease it a little bit further to Monday, Croc, because I want to get your thoughts on what it's like as a player to go through rookie minicamp. What's happening here with these young players that are putting on 49ers uniforms for the first time on the practice field in Santa Clara? I want to thank everybody out there for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers. We appreciate you. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Croc and I back Monday right here, Sunday night if you're on YouTube. Locked On 49ers.